Hey, what's up, guys? This is Josh from Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake, and today I'm joined by another special guest. I have Shelley from Tales Point Horror Book Club. How are you today?
Hiya. I'm all right, thanks, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Good, good.
There's a bit of a time difference. I almost wanted to say like good morning, but
It's afternoon here in the UK. It's like lunchtimes. It's like 20 to 2 in the afternoon.
which I've got to get used to that. Like most of the people that I've connected with through the horror community are over there. So I'm like, I should just be prepared for this.
Oh, I always get time differences wrong and everything. So I'm like, yeah, I'll never get my head around it.
For sure. It's been rough. Even some of the people that are like in other states, they're like 2 hours ahead, 3 hours ahead, and it's like hard to keep track of where everybody's at. So
Yeah.
I'm like, it's 5 o'clock. They're like, no, it's 7. I'm like, oh shoot. Like I'm like, obviously I
Yeah,
can't
I'm
do my math.
terrible. I'm really, really bad. I always get it wrong every time. I try.
That's all we can do. So for the viewers who might not know what you do and who you are, let's get to know you a little better. So
Yeah, sure.
um yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I started a book blog a few years ago, back in, let's say, 2014, 15. And I just got into like the community, and I'd won some awards for my blog. And then I kind of really wanted to like hone in on books that I read when I was a teen. So I thought I'd set up Point Horror Book Club. So Point Horror is like these little books here. They've got like little Point Horror logos on.
Oh, nice.
Um, so I've always got one to hand, you see. But so I set up like an Instagram. Originally I was running it through my blog, but then I thought, do you know what, I love Instagram that much, so I set it up on Instagram. And then we kind of pick a book every month from Point Horror series, and then read it. People join in, send me pictures, and then I have like a guest on at the end of the month, and we have like a little book club discussion and things like that. And I also do like a movie chat, a horror movie chat once a month, which you must come on at some point, Josh. You'd have to be our guest. But I
I would
do
love
that with,
that.
yeah, you must come on. But I do that with my other friend Josh and Emma, and I normally base that around like the theme of the Point Horror book that we're reading. So depends what we're reading, and depending what we watch that month, and then we discuss it. But yeah, it's all very relaxed, and we normally have a laugh, and yeah, it's
Oh,
just
good.
just fun, and it's nostalgic as well. So it's from the 90s and just full of nostalgia. So yeah.
Very, very nice. I'm a 90s baby. I was
Yeah.
I was born in April 30th of 1991. So
Oh.
very, very beginning of the 90s. So
Yeah.
I got to see some of it.
See, I'm an 80s baby, but I was a teen in the 90s. Yes, I'm that old.
I would have
But
never guessed.
but yeah, so obviously as I was growing up, these point horrors were I used to read Goosebumps a lot, and then I just
Yeah.
like went into point horror. And then obviously my nan saw that I was reading something with horror on, and then introduced me to horror movies from a very young age, probably younger than I should have been when she showed me horror movies.
I feel like that tends to happen to a lot of us. Like my aunt
Yeah.
showed me when I was like knee high to a grasshopper. Like, I was like really young and I was very
Yeah.
impressionable. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I always say the first horror film that my nan ever showed me, and I think I was probably about 6 or 7 at the time, so it was me and my brother, was The Evil Dead. So that was my very first horror film. So it explains a lot, really. But I remember it
nice.
terrifying me. Yeah, so bad. And to this day, even if I try and watch it, I get like that feeling that I got from when I was younger, where you just feel like so anxious, like before you put it on. And it obviously stems from being terrified of it as a child by my nan. Thanks, Nan.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you might not have been where you are today if,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, definitely. And I do think if you're introduced to horror at a young age, it does stay with you like constant.
yeah.
Because like my other half, he never watched horror and he doesn't really like it now. He'll
Oh,
watch some, but not too much. So I kind of think, oh, maybe if you're introduced at a young age, then
yeah,
it stays with you as you grow up. Maybe.
maybe. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that was actually my next question is,
Oh, sorry.
how did you get into horror? But no, that's okay. Like
Yeah.
we got our answer.
Yeah, my
And
nan has a lot to answer for, definitely. And my brother was terrible. He used to go around the house pretending he was like Chucky.
oh
And
gosh.
like he used to like hide under the bed and like jump out at me and my sister, like, and just like hit us at the back on the back of our leg or something and make us jump. And yeah, it was yeah, it made a very, very big impression on both of us.
Yeah. Like my stepdad would hide under my bed,
Oh
and
no.
I stepped off my bed and he like pulled me under one time, and that scarred me for life.
I bet it
Um,
did. Yeah.
so every time I'd get off my bed, I would make like a running jump and like jump as far away from the bed as possible to the door.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm terrified of jump scares as well. Like if
Mm.
like horror movies, I love horror movies, but if it's like anything to do with ghosts or like jump scares, it terrifies me more than it should because I'm just scared of that. And I blame my brother for that, for jumping out on us a lot when we was younger.
What are brothers for?
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Also, I love the ghost face you got going on.
Oh yeah, I've got a little ghost face and a little knife.
Very nice.
I thought it was appropriate for today.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes, definitely. So so the reason we're here today is because you and I decided on a movie together.
Yes.
Um, and that was the movie Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, definitely. I thought, as I'm from the UK, I thought we'd go with a bit of a British comedy horror.
And that's always a classic. It's a good one. I guess it was released in 2004. It was directed by Edgar Wright.
Yeah,
And then
love
our
Edgar Wright. I absolutely love his films. I love him.
oh yeah,
Brilliant.
I think he has Hot Fuzz. More
Yeah.
recently, I guess he did Last Night in Soho. I haven't seen that
Yes.
yet.
I just watched that last weekend and
Oh,
it was different to it was his usual style, like certain things that he does, but it was a lot different to what I thought it was going to be, and it kept me engrossed all the way through. It was just strange but good at the same time. I really can't put into words really, but I recommend it to watch it, definitely. Yeah, it was
I
interesting but different.
yeah, for sure. I know there's a lot of movies I still need to check out that everybody's talking about. Like there's like that was one of them. People were talking about
Yeah,
Malignant for a while. They're talking about X. I'm like, holy
yeah, I
crap.
haven't seen X yet.
I'm like, holy crap, I'm way behind.
No, I haven't seen X yet at all, but I do keep hearing people talk about it. It's meant to be a good one, that.
Yeah, I actually the most recent one that I went and saw was The Black Phone.
Oh yes, I saw that as well.
I
That
really
was,
enjoyed that.
yeah, again, different to what I thought it was going to be from the trailer.
Yeah,
Like the trailer didn't give too much away, really, but it was different to what I expected. But the way that they did it and the creepiness of it was yeah,
right.
and made me jump a couple of times as well, I have to admit. There's a couple of jump scares in there.
Yeah, and the fact that you think like going through it, especially through like the majority of it, you're like, okay, it's an abduction kind of movie. And then
Mm,
they introduce that supernatural element to it, which
yeah.
kind of puts that spin on it. And
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
yeah, yeah. So sorry, I'm sidetracking us here, but
Got sidetracked, yeah.
so we have, our main characters. You've got, Sean, Ed, Liz, um, and their friend. I can't remember their friends' names for the life of me.
Was it
Um,
Diane and oh, that's so bad. I'm gonna have to look now. Diane and I'm gonna say it's David. That was it. Diane and David were the friends. Yeah.
and as we find out later in the movie, David has more of a thing for Liz. He's not even really, he's with Diane, but he's not with Diane.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so Simon Pegg plays Sean, and
Yeah.
he is in like a lot of other movies. He was in like the Mission Impossible movies. I'm pretty sure he was in Star Trek,
Yeah.
like
Star Trek. Yeah.
Hot Fuzz,
Yeah.
The World's
World's
End, and
End. Yeah. Yeah.
um
Such a brilliant actor.
he
And I know
yeah.
him from I don't know whether you would have seen it in the US, but there was a series called Spaced, which was
Oh,
Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright was directing. But it's basically about these two people who are like they meet in like a cafe and they're looking for a place to live in London, I think it is. She's from the 90s. And
oh,
they basically pretend to be like professional people to like get this flat, and then it's just about like their life, but it's really funny and good, and it's got a really good fan base even to this day. It's got a
nice.
fan base, but that's kind of Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg. They kind of, I like to think that's how they kind of met, maybe, or they were friends and created it. But it had
Yeah.
Nick Frost in it as well, who plays Ed, Shaun of the Dead. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There was another one that I saw Simon Pegg in, and it was with Robin Williams as like he was voicing a dog.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I can't think what that is.
I can't remember the name right off the top of my head. I saw it like a while back on Amazon.
Yeah.
Um, but it was really good, and it was an interesting pairing, Simon Pegg and
Yeah.
Robin Williams. Rest in
Oh,
peace.
okay. I don't
um,
think I've seen that. I'll have to find out what that is and check it out, because that sounds like it would be fun to watch.
it really was. It was fun. But yeah, it seems like most movies like Nick Frost and Simon Pegg are like a pair. You don't
Yeah,
get
definitely.
most movies, you don't get one without the other.
Yeah. And what a pair. They're fantastic together. The comedy that they have and the way they interact, it's perfect. It's really, really good.
Yeah, and I was reading a fact that they based like their relationship in Shaun of the Dead, like their them being roommates, actually on their real life relationship when they used to share a flat together.
Yes. Yeah, I read that as well. And how amazing is that? Like that you could put those elements into like film and
Yeah.
just like act with such a good friends, like you're just such good friends, and you're acting and you're creating all these movies together. I just think that's amazing. Really love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And I think you can tell that they're friends as well. I think they've just got that rapport
Oh
together.
yeah. Most definitely. It translates super well on the screen, and it's believable because it is real. So
Yeah, no, definitely.
um but yeah, so I'm pretty sure like the majority of the world has seen Shaun of the Dead by now. If not, you're living under a rock. Um, but for those of people who haven't seen it, or want to see it, could you possibly give us a brief synopsis of the film?
Oh, yeah, okay. So brief synopsis. So basically, you've got Sean, who is some type of salesman who works for an electric company, and his life's going in a bit of a linear direction, and he's obviously with his girlfriend Liz. She seems to want a little bit more out of life.
Yeah.
And she doesn't just want to be going down the Winchester pub every night and getting drunk and staggering home. She wants a bit more. So essentially he gets dumped, and then all of a sudden these strange things start happening. People start turning into zombies, although we can't call them zombies, can we? Because that's what they say in there. You can't call them zombies. So this entire community seems to be destroyed, or something weird's going on. And basically Shaun needs to try and get his life back together in the process. So I think his plan is, what is it, pick mum up, get Liz back, go to the pub or something like that, or get life back. Yeah, so essentially it's about their journey to safety from these zombies.
Right. Yeah. Hey, that sums it up perfectly, I feel like. Yeah, so we got in the beginning, like the movies, like at least the version I've seen, it's weird because the first time I've watched it, I don't remember the opening scene being the way it was, but I don't know if there's two different versions. But it starts out in the pub.
Yes.
With Liz, and they're all and David and Diane and Ed, they're all kind of hanging out and having a pint.
Yeah, and Liz is kind of giving like a bit of a Shaun a little bit of a telling off, like we need to do something more with our relationship, kind of thing. And what you don't realize is that all the friends are there, like the camera kind of pans, doesn't it, to the side, and the friends are there. And that's what makes it quite funny, is just sitting there taking this from Liz, listening or pretending he's listening.
Right.
And then you've got Ed, the friend, who's like just trying to like distract him all the time from what Liz is saying.
Right. It's like, come on, Ed. You're stepping in the middle of their relationship. Knock it off.
Oh, bless him.
But so then it kind of goes into like the day-to-day life for Shaun, and like he takes the bus, he goes to the market, and he
same things like every day,
like
we all do.
right. The daily shuffle. And he like you said, he works in like an appliance store or something like that, and
like an electrical store, with a load of, I want to say teenagers, I think they were teenagers, chewing gum like constant.
Right.
And not listening to anything he says.
Right. The one kid answers his phone and just like, he's like talking about how he was all messed up the night before, and just like, he doesn't care that he's at work. Like,
I think that's Rafe Spall, is it? I think, do you know who that is? He's more of an English actor, I think, but he looks really different, like young.
I've seen him in a few movies. I can't remember them right off the top of my head, but I was like, I'm like, I know him from somewhere else too. So but yeah, so it gradually we go through this movie. It's kind of just showing their life at the flat. They have this other roommate who is very uptight, and
is it Pete? Is that what his name was? Pete, I think. Isn't it?
You're probably
Pete,
right.
Yeah, it is Pete. Yeah.
He's just very like to the books, like work, come home, sleep, stop acting like children, like there's like that scene, he goes, Ed, you don't work, can you clean a little bit, take some messages, scribble it down on some paper, just do some stuff around the house since you're not doing anything with your life. Like kind of like, and I love how when he walks away, he has like the sticky notes on his back that says, I am a prick or something.
And like Ed's just like, I had to do it. Oh God. Ed's such a character though, isn't he? He's such like a little rogue character,
right?
And he just doesn't care. Like he'll just do what
whatever he wants
for laughs more than anything.
But
I did read that Nick Frost, he actually, because like he's a bit of a scruff, isn't he, Ed, as a character, and like he scratches his genitals a little
Yeah.
bit, but apparently Nick Frost actually shaved down in that area just so it would make it extra itchy for him, so he could make the character authentic. And I kind of like that. I think, you know, that's like, you know,
No.
that's pretty like going the extra mile for your role there.
That was
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah,
that's funny.
that's going the extra mile.
Props to you, Nick Frost.
Yes, yes.
And I'm sorry because like there's like parts that I want to quote, but then I almost want to do it in an accent, but then I don't want to like
Do it.
well, like, you know, he's like, I'm sorry, Shaun. And he's like, for what? He's like, no, I'm sorry, Shaun. And he's like,
That's so
oh.
good.
He's like,
Oh.
I'll stop doing it when you stop laughing.
Oh my god, that is such a good impression. I like that.
Sometimes I can do it better than others, but yeah.
No, that was really good. Like, you really did sound like him. Well done. I couldn't.
Thank you.
No. Even with my Birmingham Peaky Blinders accent, I'm just so bad at accents, so I'm not even going to butcher it and attempt.
So then I'm trying not to like give everything in the movie away, but so then they end up like, you know, meeting up at the Winchester later because he botches his plans, like his procrastinated plans to take Liz out to dinner, and
Yeah.
he has like the flowers for his mom, and he's like
Bless him. He's trying. Shaun is trying his very best to like please everyone and prove that he's not this person that Liz is saying he is.
Yeah.
You know, and he's trying to change. I think he
Right.
tries to give up smoking, doesn't he? You know, all in like this short space of time. Bless him. He's
Right.
trying.
Right. You can't knock a man for at least attempting.
No.
But so yeah, he ends up like struggling because he's like, yeah, there seems to be a bit of a mix up with the table, and she's like, you didn't make a reservation, did you? And he's like, no. Like he couldn't lie about it.
And that, did you notice the name of the restaurant as well? So I think it was something like, I'm really bad at pronouncing names, but I think it's like Fulci, the place that does fish. And I think that's like a name of a director or something for like Italian horror or something.
Oh.
So they put like little like tidbits in of like little different bits of zombie horror and things, which I kind of really liked.
Which
But
thank you.
that restaurant was one of them.
Nice. Well, actually, thank you for mentioning that because there was another part where I think his mom's name is Barbara. And he
Yeah.
like when Nick Frost is like, we're coming to get you, Barbara. And like that's like almost a direct pull from like Night of the Living Dead, you know.
Yeah.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
That's
Like
it. Yeah.
so
And I think I think they did like some type of screening with, again, my pronunciation's bad, but is it Romero?
yes,
Yeah.
George A. Romero.
That's it. And I think they did some type of private screening for him, and he didn't pick that reference up. So they explained it to him after, and I think he liked it that much. He gave Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg a cameo in one of his films. I think it was
Land of the Dead.
Land of the Dead. Yes, that was it. Oh yeah.
I'm a huge Romero fan. He's like the godfather, or pretty much the founding father of zombie movies. Like at least the zombies that we know, like the shuffling, like
yeah,
not like the voodoo zombies. Like there was movies before like Night of the Living Dead
yeah,
that were like the voodoo, like mind control zombies, not like
yeah.
the zombie zombies.
We like the traditional zombie. That's what we'll say, traditional. Slow
Right.
moving.
Right. So yeah, so we have like little callbacks to that. Yeah, like throughout the movie you get like these little nods and everything, and I love that. I love when they throw in little Easter eggs, or like just little like head nods, like, yeah, we see you, we know. But oh, just a heads up, so I totally was talking about this with Elise. I was supposed to get like the full version of of Zoom, but it says like in 9 minutes it's gonna
I just,
close.
I did just see that pop up, and I was thinking, uh-oh.
Right, I'm like, oh crap, I was like, that was something I was supposed to figure out. um so in about 9 minutes we're gonna have to hop back right back on. We'll like,
Yeah.
it'll be like an intermission for like 10 seconds,
Popcorn
but
break.
yep, quick 10-second popcorn break, and then we'll be
No
right
worries.
back with that. um but so yeah, they end up going to the Winchester,
Yeah.
which is like Shaun and Ed's spot, like.
Yeah, yeah, and it's got like this big Winchester shotgun above the bar, which there's rumors whether it's a live gun or a fake gun. No
Right,
one quite knows.
right, and they were like talking about it, I remember, and I just love because it's referenced twice in there, like he's like talking about how the owner says that dogs can look up,
Yeah.
and later on he's like, and dogs can look up, like it's just but I just, oh man, I love like a lot of the quotes in this movie.
It's like the little one-liners, isn't it? Or like a certain action. And I really think like that's a Simon Pegg / Edgar Wright trait. So when they're together, and Nick Frost to a certain extent, when they're together, they do these like perfect it's just perfectly timed like moments and like
Yeah,
one-liners. It's fantastic, brilliant.
yeah, most definitely. um but yeah, so they end up at the Winchester, and she's like super, even more pissed off at Shaun, because they had just had that conversation about you know trying to change, and like you know
Yeah.
be more, essentially more responsible, and like put more effort into their relationship, and so that doesn't go over well. And
Yeah.
then
No, again.
and Ed event or not Ed, Shaun eventually goes over to her house and is like, he wants to see her. They're not, like, her friends aren't letting him in. He's like, you want me to climb up there? I'll climb up to the window. And like,
He tries, and
he
then he tries the first time, and
and
then he
then
doesn't manage it.
and then he buzzes them again. He's like, it's me again. Like, but then it ultimately leads to them breaking up,
Yeah.
this little visit they have. And
Mm.
so Shaun heads home and ends up like drinking with, they go to actually the Winchester first. They get pretty sloshed, and
Yeah,
then
it's quite, sorry, Josh, it's quite funny. And I
yeah.
only picked this up this time watching it. Now I've seen this film many, many times, and foreshadowing, like Edgar Wright is known for like doing a lot of foreshadowing in a lot of his films. And with that, when he's like broken up and Ed's convincing him to go out, they actually foreshadow the rest of the movie. So it's like, I think he says, let's go drinking. So he said, we'll go and have a Bloody Mary, a bite at the King's Head. So the Bloody Mary, so that's slight spoilers, as a zombie called Mary. A king at the a bite at the king's head, or the king could be classed as Philip, who's the stepdad. A couple down the Little Princess, so David and Di could be classed as Di the princess. And then stagger back, so like zombies, and then at the bar for shots, which indicates the end, what happens at the end at the Winchester. So like that one little scene foreshadows like what's gonna come up, and Edgar Wright always does that so well, like just in his writing, and Simon Pegg, brilliant.
Very, God, I didn't even pick that up.
I've never picked it up before until when I was watching it this time. As I say, I've watched it numerous times before, and I thought, oh, hang on, that's actually what's going to happen. Like, so I thought it was quite clever. There's like
Yeah.
little bits of foreshadowing all the way through, which is really clever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was actually, I did pick up on a little foreshadowing. There's like the scene where did we say his name was Pete or no?
Pete, the flatmate, the housemate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was actually coming up on that scene where they, after the bar, they come home and they're like playing his records
yeah.
really loud, and they wake him up and he's super pissed and like yelling
Mm.
at them. He's like, "It's 4 in the fucking morning!" Like,
On a Sunday.
and like they ask him about the bite on his hand. We find out that he's been bitten, um, and he makes a comment to Ed, like he goes, "Go live in the shed, you thick," like, um, and that foreshadows something we'll touch on a little later, but
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and I've never picked that up before until you've said that. But it just shows how clever they are with the things that they plant. Edgar Wright, that he plants in his films, and just I've never picked that up before. That's just blown my mind. That has, Josh.
yeah.
I like it.
I'm glad I could return the favor, because you totally just blew my mind with the other foreshadowing. I was totally oblivious. So, but yeah. So, you know, we find out he's been bitten. They're like partying, but like the last scene of that night is like Simon does make that sign that he's like, about his mom and like getting Liz
Yes.
back and then getting his life back in order. And then he
And
passes out in the kitchen.
that scene is very typical Edgar Wright, the way that happens. So he's writing it drunkenly on there. He falls back onto the chair and it goes from night to day in like just a shot. And that's a very Edgar Wright kind of shot, is what I would say. Like he does that quite a lot and it's very effective and clever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was good. And so then that kick starts, like, the next day, like Shaun is like doing his normal, like going to the store and like, out and about, and you kind of you start to pick up more on like the zombie stuff that's going on, or
Yeah.
not zombie stuff going
Can't
on.
call them zombies, Josh. Can't call them zombies.
Dang it. Um, but you did notice, like throughout, even before that moment, there was like things that were happening, like when he's on the bus and he sees the woman collapse outside,
Yeah.
and there's like little hints, and like they're at the bar and that person, like the shadow slamming the hand on the
Yeah.
windows.
The man with the pigeon, when he looks out when he's getting the flowers for his mom, and there's like a bus, and I think there's a man like with the pigeon. So it
Yeah,
looks like
yeah,
he's about to eat the pigeon. And then the bus goes past and then he like disappears. So he doesn't quite see what's going on. But yeah, so there's
right,
like little hints, isn't there?
right. And then like when they're walking home from the bar that night, and the two people over by the phone booth
Looks like they're
too.
making out and yeah, but no, she's
Yeah,
actually
eating
eating
him.
his neck.
Yep. So, but yeah, Sean goes and goes to the gas, or like the little Minute Mart, and like there's like nobody there. He like gets his stuff and goes back home, and like the scene is so funny. He's like sitting there enjoying himself, and then like Nick Frost happens to be like hiding behind like the curtain, and
Yeah.
he's like, "There's a girl in the garden," and he's like, "What?" He's like, "In the garden, there's a girl," and so like they go out there and we meet Mary, the one you were talking about.
Yeah, good old Mary.
And they're like, "Oh my god, she's drunk," like, because she's like stumbling around and they have no idea what's going on, and
He
they're like,
says, "Oh, she needs a cuddle. She needs a cuddle."
and so she like comes at him and like knocks him down, and like he's like needing help, and like Ed runs and gets like a little, like a camera, and he's like, "And we're back, folks."
Yeah.
um so sorry, right before I got cut off, I was saying that he was snapping pictures, and like Simon's like, or Shaun is like, help me, like really, like, so
Get
he
her
like,
off me.
right, so he like he gets Mary off of Shaun, and he like shoves her away, and then she comes
Mm,
back, and like Shaun's like, no, like really, this is your last warning, don't touch me, kind of thing. And then he's like, fuck off, and he like shoves her, and like she like stumbles back and falls right onto this like
yeah.
spigot thing, or I don't know what it was sticking out of the
Yeah, like
ground.
a pole. Yeah, like a pole thing, isn't it? But it basically goes straight through her. But like considering
Yeah.
this was 2004, I didn't think like rewatching it. I didn't think the CGI looked dated or anything. I thought it looked
No.
quite clear on that shot. Thought it
Yeah.
was really good.
No, that was great. Like their use of CGI, I thought it was very well done, especially for
Mm,
being 2004.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but I think that's their first realization that, holy crap, like she's not drunk, something else is going on.
Mm.
So like they like get back inside, and they're like trying to figure it out. And I love to like just freaking Ed's character, because he's like, are they still out there? And he like goes out and looks, and then it's like comes back. He like pauses for a second. He's like, yeah.
Oh, it's just as I say, the comedic timing. It's all in the timing, isn't it? And it's just
Right.
perfect.
So they're like trying to figure out, like, so they start watching the news, and like they're like, you got to remove the head or destroy the
Yeah,
brain. And so they're
yeah.
like, I just love that they took that, and they're like, okay, let's gather a bunch of stuff from the kitchen and just start
Yeah,
hucking it up,
random stuff.
right? Like a toaster, and
Yeah,
like little utensils, and they're just like,
cups and like a little tree thing that you hang the cups on. Like really random things.
they're just like hucking it at him, like it's gonna really do much. Like, they're not like sharp objects, like they're not throwing
And
knives at him or anything. It's like,
and they're not good throwers either. Like they miss a lot.
no, heavens no.
They
Yeah.
throw like how I would throw really badly. Like
Right, good thing
yeah,
neither of them are like into Major League Baseball or anything, because
that's
they
it. Yeah,
they don't have
yeah,
a future in that at all.
definitely not.
But eventually they like he hucks like a record, the record that Pete had thrown out the window the night before, like,
Oh yeah.
and it like sticks in his face. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that. So like they're like sitting there, they're like sifting through like Shaun's
Oh
records.
God. Yeah, like his vintage records that he's obviously collected for years, and he's like, "Can we throw this one?" No, no way. And then
Yeah.
then
He's
they
like,
decide like which ones to throw.
Batman soundtrack, throw it. And he's like, oh, that one's Liz's. He's like, well, she broke up with you, didn't she?
Yeah.
Like, I just love that they're
Oh
taking the time to like, they're in like a situation, and they're like so chillax about it. They're just
yeah.
like, oh, just going through my records. Not that
And
we're
the
gonna get
zombies are getting closer, and they're just like, yeah, we've got to sift through the the valuable ones.
right. But eventually that's not really working out for them. So he's like, busts down the freaking door of the shed, and like gets like a paddle,
Yeah,
and Ed has like a shovel. I'm like, okay, that's more appropriate, right?
definitely.
At
Yeah,
least they
now
can
we're
do something with
talking.
it. Yeah. But yeah, so then they know that the threat is real, and they're like
Mm,
trying to like still go about their plans of like, get it
yeah,
getting mom, and like, you
get
know
Liz back.
get Liz, and like still try to make their way back to the Winchester for a nice pint,
Yeah,
and wait for this to all blow over, as they would say.
yeah. And there's that like little montage again, which is very Edgar Wright, where it's like these quick change scenes, which are like normally mundane kind of things, where it's like, and it's like with
Yeah.
his plan. And then Ed keeps changing the plan and tweaking it. It's like, oh no, I need somewhere to smoke. I need somewhere to do this. And then they have to change the plan about 3 times.
Dang
But they
it,
get
dang it,
there in
Ed.
the end.
Oh gosh. But yeah, and I love how, like, Sean loves his mom very much. And
Oh,
and you
Pickle. She calls him Pickle.
yeah, and
Which apparently is what Edgar Wright's mom used to call him. He used to call him
aw,
Pickle, so that's why he put it in. Oh, bless.
that's so sweet. What a nice like nod to your mother, and like,
Yeah. Oh.
some homage. But you can tell that he obviously has like a really strained relationship with his stepdad, Phil.
Yes.
Phil.
Yeah. Philip.
Um,
Yeah.
yep, yep, Philip. I don't know why I shortened his name. Like, him and I aren't friends.
I thought you were going to Winchester with him the other day.
We were supposed to, but canceled on account of rain.
Cancelled. Oh, never mind.
But so yeah, and that's played by Bill. I don't know how to pronounce his last name,
Bill
but
Nighy. Bill Nighy.
and
Yeah.
he's been in quite a few things.
Oh, he's such a good actor. Like, phenomenal.
He
Yeah.
even was in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, he was in Pirates of the Caribbean. Love Actually. He was in. Oh, he's been in so many things.
Underworld.
Underworld. He was in. Oh, what was that film he was in? He was in a film called About Time, which is like a bit of it's like a time travel. I'm not sure whether you've ever seen it, but his character in that is probably one of my favorite characters he's ever played. It was like really emotional and stuff, but I really recommend that film. It's good. It's not horror or anything. It's like time travel-y love story thing, but it's really good.
Very nice. Horror is my favorite, but I do enjoy a good comedy.
Yeah.
I'm even a sucker for romance movies.
Yeah.
I
Well,
I'm
I
all over
recommend
this.
that. Bill Nighy he's really good in that film. Really, really good. I can't give too much away what happens because it will spoil it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out for sure.
Yeah.
I'm always up for it. But yeah, God, just their chemistry too. You can really feel the tension and kind of like,
Yeah.
like that relationship that, like, I know I had with my stepdad too, was very,
Mm,
very strained and very just like, ugh.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I felt that, like,
Yeah.
um
They do it so well. Like, they do come across like they really hate each other. Um,
yeah,
but the common denominator is that they both love Barbara,
yeah,
who's obviously Sean's mom. And you can tell that
yeah.
as well. It's such a nice little trio, really, when he goes round to the house, to his mom's house, to get them, and obviously see what's happened to Philly.
Yeah, yeah, and mom is still very oblivious. Like, during that time, she's like trying to just talk to Sean about normal things, and he's like freaking out. He's like, like, you have no idea what's going on out there, like, which, good for her. I
Yeah.
mean, like, she's safe at the moment, but like, she's just like in her own little world. And
Yeah, that's how I would be. Like, literally, I would be really oblivious. I'd be oblivious to everything, and yeah, totally oblivious, and I wouldn't know what was going on.
sorry, I heard what you said, but like, I went to like adjust something and my headphones fell off,
I
and they
thought you were
like,
turning into a zombie then. I was like a bit concerned for a moment.
brains. Like,
Thought it was happening, the change.
but but yeah, no, and she is such a lovely woman. Like,
Yeah.
she's very homey and very, I was like, I would, it reminds me
Yeah.
of my mom
Yeah.
too, and it warm fuzzy feelings,
Yeah.
but so, gosh, sorry, like I said, I'm not trying to give a play by play, but
I know. We said we weren't going to do like spoilers, but Here we are.
Here we are.
Might have to put a little warning up or something just in case.
This little disclaimer. But so they're all trying to survive this and get to and follow through with their plans of what get to the Winchester. That's like the end goal. That's like the end.
Yeah,
they're like
end goal. That's
yep,
safety to them. That's where they're saying they'll be safe from the zombies.
Right. So they're like, in the process we do lose Philip, and there's like this bonding moment between him and Simon, or God, why do I keep calling him by his real name? Shaun.
Oh dear. I do the same. We just know him as Simon.
Right. But so you have this bonding moment. It's really nice. Like, I know it's like at the end of his life, but at least it leaves some nice closure with him leaving. And and gosh, I'm just gonna go ahead and there's a lot going on. They finally make it back to the pub. We're gonna skip a whole bunch and go right back to the end of the pub scene.
Yeah.
And they're like swarmed in this pub. They're like hanging out in the Winchester, and there's zombies all outside. They're locked in there. It's pretty much like
everywhere.
Yeah, it's almost like being like lobsters caught up in a cage or something. They're just like, it's feeding time, and they're just like in there waiting for them to like come in and get them essentially, and they're like trying to figure out how they're gonna fight these off.
And you've got that brilliant scene when they go, I think Shaun goes down to the basement to try and get some electricity or something on. And you kind of I thought it was a little nod to like Resident Evil a little bit when the light comes on of like the backlight of the door, and you just see all the hands of the zombies. And I think it's a nod to Resident Evil, but I could be wrong on that. It just that's what it reminded me of. Like a backlit kind of thing, and people clawing. I thought that was really good, and he quickly turns the light back off because he just doesn't want to know, and he pulls the shade down. He's like, no, they're not there really.
And I love how like the jukebox is playing, and they're like freaking that song that's playing while they're like
that scene.
That whole scene is just great.
The scene. And then do you mean the scene with the Queen song? When they've got like the snooker poles, haven't they? And they're like, again, I'm sorry for spoilers, but they're hitting this zombie with the sticks. And again, that scene is just perfectly timed, like comedy, time into the music, and again, this is what Edgar Wright does so well, especially like in Baby Driver. Like the music element of Baby Driver is just what, excuse the pun, drives the film. But it's he's very good with his musical comedy timing, and that scene that is the scene I think most people remember from Shaun of the Dead. Is that jukebox scene, I think. Right.
Well, and I'll let you know at the end here the scene that I always love too. But so we end up in that during all this scuffle, we lose David. And Diane.
Oh, bless them.
And I think David gets like ripped apart. He like gets like out like there
torn.
Like, oh man, he got his comeuppance, but
it's like brutal, isn't it? It's like one of them when you go, oh away.
And that's like right after he kind of like spills the beans, like, I've always loved you, Liz, and like he gives like this whole like spiel about like how he essentially like he's making him like, I would be better than Shaun, like, and I've always loved you, and like and then he dies.
Did he deserve to die, do you think, though? Do you think he deserved to die? That's the thing. He wasn't meant to be liked, was he, really? He was meant to be a bit
No, but if we're going on a scale of like we'll use the characters as a scale. If we're going on the scale of Pete, who was a complete asshole,
Yeah, yeah,
and like Shaun, who's very lovable, he was kind of like
yeah,
weaning in the middle, kind of like,
yeah,
he's like, you understand, like, you know, obviously the reason he is the way he is towards like
yeah,
Shaun and them is because, you know,
yeah,
he really wants to be with Liz, and like
yeah,
it's like Shaun is in the way of that. And so you can kind of
mm,
understand from that aspect.
yeah,
But he seems to be also very cocky.
mm,
And
yeah, definitely.
there are elements to him that you're like, oh, I don't like that. Like, you know,
Yeah,
some very bad characteristics. So
yeah,
he kind of falls in the middle, almost starting to lean more towards Pete,
yeah.
but not as
Not as bad as Pete.
yeah, pretty much.
I like the way Diane goes after him though. Like she's like, no, I'll follow
Right,
you. I'll come back.
right. Even though
Yeah,
she even says that she knows, you know, that the whole
yeah,
like she knew the whole time that he was like using her to get to Liz, but she seemed to be like okay with that.
yeah. She'd come to terms with it, hadn't she? She's just dealt with it, but
Yep,
she still goes after him into that
right,
into all the zombies to try and help him. But I mean, we know he's dead. There's no
right,
way.
right. Um, so I know I've done a good job of spoiling a lot of things.
So have I. So we said we were going to try not to, but
You just
it's
can't
just one
help
of
it.
those films.
Yeah, you want to talk about it, so it's
Yeah.
hard not to. Uh, but I figured I'd let you give us the climax. You know, seeing that you are my guest, and of course I want to give you the most important part of the film is obviously the climax. So if you
Yeah.
if you'd like to share that
So
climax with the
so
folks.
are we talking about when they're in the pub or after the pub? What would you say is the climax? Because
I'd say like that the tail end of the pub, you know, like those final things that kind of like
yeah, okay. So I would say then, so obviously they again spoilers, but they find out that they can use that gun behind the bar of the pub. It obviously escalates, and the because of what happens with the other characters, zombies come in, and essentially they end up in the basement, don't they? And Nick Frost's character Ed has been bitten, and
yeah,
you know they're trying to decide what to do. Should they basically, you know, shoot themselves? They've got 2 shots left in the gun. Should they shoot themselves? So then they manage to find a way out in the end, and then the army come, don't they? All very dramatic.
yeah,
The army turn up at that specific moment in time
right.
and come and like clear all the zombies. And then what we get is like, I think, is it 3 months later or 6 months later, something like that, flashes forward, and obviously Shaun and Liz are together in the house that you know, in Shaun's house,
Yeah,
and then like flicking through the TV, and you never quite find out how this zombie apocalypse happens. Like it always like flicks over the TV. And then obviously we find out, as you said earlier, that they're keeping Ed in the shed, so they can play on computer games together, and they live
right,
happily ever after the zombie apocalypse.
right. I love the choice of song at the end, you know, the whole like the ooh, you're making me live.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, like as I say, Edgar Wright and song choices is just always perfect.
Yeah, yeah. And in that, sorry, in that climax too, I just had to mention this, but they're in the basement, and like in the heart of this like situation, I just love how Ed like has that last quip of, you know, he ends up, you know, I'm sorry, Shaun.
Yeah.
And he does it again, and he's
Yeah.
like, I'll stop doing it when you stop
Yeah.
laughing. And it was just like it was sad at the same time, because, you know, like, you know, he's infected, and like you're like
Mm. And he says, doesn't he? He says, leave me behind, you two go and save yourself. Leave me here. I'm happy to be eaten. I think is what he says.
yeah. and
Yeah.
and like you're just like, you feel for Shaun and for Ed, you know, they're like
Yeah,
the best of friends, and now like Shaun doesn't have any friends, like, or I
no,
mean essentially, like, I mean in the end, you know, we do say he's in the shed with Ed and they're playing games, even though
yeah.
Ed is a zombie, but like,
He's like, oh, and like, you know, he can't
yeah,
fully function. He still tries to eat Shaun. Um,
right,
but yeah, under control.
yeah, but yeah, that was definitely sad, but I'm glad he figured out a way to keep Ed around, and maybe, you know, who knows, like maybe down the road there would have been a cure, and maybe
Yeah,
he could cure Ed, or you know,
yeah,
maybe,
definitely.
because
But
yeah,
I think there was talks that was gonna make a kind of sequel. But I think they like just got rid of the idea straight away. But I think it was going to be called From Dusk Till Shaun, which
yes,
I think is brilliant. And I really wish they'd made it, and it was going to have like different creatures, not zombies, but different creatures in it. But I think that would have been interesting just to get a bit of an extra glimpse into like, would they have done it as like a sequel or like a standalone separate, so they could bring the characters back, or do you see what
right,
I mean? It would have been
yeah,
interesting, I think. Yeah.
yeah, I read about that too while I was looking up facts and like trivia.
Yeah.
I saw that there's an animated film that's out that's called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and it came out in like
Oh
2018.
yeah.
They had,
Yeah.
supposedly you can see a mock-up poster for From Dusk
Oh
Till
yeah.
Shaun
Yeah.
in that
Oh
movie.
wow. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll have to have a look at that. I've seen that and I've never noticed. I'll have to have to rewatch it now.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I had some other facts. Oh yeah, yeah. This is not like a super fun fact, but like I guess all the news readers and like the broadcasters and everything were
Yeah.
actual like people from there that did that,
Yeah, in the
portraying
UK.
themselves.
Yeah, in the UK, yeah, there's a few people that were recognised. Yeah, maybe not so much around now, but definitely back in, you know, back in 2004.
Yeah.
And also there was like voiceovers as well at the end. I think one of them might have been David Walliams had done a voiceover, you know, just on the TV channels. But I kind of like that as well. And also, you know, where they you know, when they're heading towards the Winchester and they bump into that other group and it like mirrors them. Those are all like prolific actors. Some of them UK actors there, and I just thought that was a really good comedy, a really good
Yeah.
comedy there.
Yeah. So on my show, I usually like to rank these films and give them a rating. Um, and this one's pretty high for me. Uh, but what would you give Shaun of the Dead out of a 10?
Out of 10, I'd say it's high for me. I'd say I'm going to say 9 out of 10. I'm going to say, because it's like almost, it's just every time I watch it, I find something new and I never get tired of it. I can just rewatch it constant, and I think it's just a
Yeah.
classic, and it has become a classic that people watch. So I would say 9 out of 10 for me. How about you?
We're actually, you and I, there's very few times that me and my guests line up, but I was going to give it a 9 out of a 10 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
High five.
Cyber high five. But I really enjoyed this film. Like, you know, it had been a while since I watched it, but
Mm,
it's so funny, it's so good, and like you said, you know, there's all these nods and all this foreshadowing and all this brilliant
mm,
like thoughts that go into this film, and it
yeah,
makes for a really fun, you know, spoofy kind of horror comedy, and
yeah.
I really enjoy that because when it comes to like movies, horror is my number one and comedy is my
Mm,
second. So when you get
yeah,
one that
same.
has, when you have one that has both,
Yeah,
it's
no,
really good.
definitely. And like, and that's why I think, like, you know, Edgar Wright, he obviously in Hot Fuzz, that's like a spoof on like police buddies. isn't it? Like those kind of thing. Baby Driver is like, you know, high speed car chase spoofs. I mean, you could call it a spoof, but it is like its own kind of story, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, he does it so well. And obviously this was like it's like a trilogy of films, but it's not like a trilogy as they follow on, but they call them the Cornetto trilogy, because at one point Ed says, oh, grab me a cornetto from the shop. And he does that in all of the films, so Hot Fuzz and The World's End, and they're like different flavour cornetto each time as well.
Nice.
I know, it's clever.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Look, the more you
Yeah.
know, the more you know. Um, but yeah, no, it was a great film. Thank you for suggesting that. And
Oh no, thank
I
you. Thank you
yeah,
for having me.
yeah, of course. You're welcome on here anytime. We'll definitely do
Oh,
this again. And
yeah,
I
sure.
I'd love to pop over on yours, like you were saying
Yeah,
before.
definitely. We'll set that up and you can come and be our movie guest for the
That would be
month.
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But so what's next for you?
Yeah, so I continue every month to do Point Horror Book Club. So that's on Instagram. It's normally Tales Point Horror Book Club if you're looking. So yeah, so basically I'm just going to continue with that. Continue just having fun chatting about the books that I loved as a teen, and then obviously movies. But yeah, just working on that more than anything. So I just really enjoy it, and the community is just so great.
Yeah.
So yeah, just continue and have fun mainly. That's the aim of the game, is to have a bit of fun.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I really enjoy seeing your posts and what you guys do.
Oh, thank you. My crazy
Yeah.
reels that I end up doing. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I enjoy it, and that's the main thing, isn't it?
right, right. That's what I love about a lot of the people that I've met,
Mm,
like yourself and other people in this horror community, is that
yeah,
we all really love what we talk about, and
yeah,
it really transfers very well to like the viewers, because
mm,
we're not just doing this to, appease anybody or try to make it anywhere.
no,
It's because we all have a passion for what we talk
mm,
about. And so it's been so nice to meet so many people and make so many new
yeah,
friends from across
no,
the
I
pond.
agree. Definitely. It is really, really lovely. It's a great community. It really is. And as you say, the passion, like, when I watch your videos, like I can tell how passionate you are. And,
Yeah,
you make me excited to go and see like the new film that's out or something. So when I'm
yeah,
watching yours, I'm like, yeah,
right.
you pump me up. I'm like, yes, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
Oh no, you're
um
welcome.
but yeah, we'll definitely link up again, and
Yeah, sure.
I hope you have a killer rest of your day. I know
Oh,
it's probably, I think it's like almost 2 now, right?
it's
Or
almost 3 now. It's quarter to
oh,
3.
there we go with my timing
Our
again.
time differences.
It's almost 7 here.
Oh gosh, it's so early. 7 in the morning. Wow,
Yeah.
that's like so early. You've got the
Well,
day ahead of you.
yeah, no, of course, I was happy to do it. Like, I know that, because it's so late for you guys, I want to be able to, because I'm up early most of the time.
Yeah,
So like I'm willing to do this early, because I know that
yeah.
it's so hard to like schedule with people across the pond.
No,
Um,
definitely.
so, but yeah, I
Oh,
hope you
but
have
no,
a
I hope you have a lovely day. And honestly, thank you so much for asking me and
yeah,
for letting me rewatch one of my favorite films as well. Like it was like
yeah,
really
yeah,
fun chatting.
yeah. No, this was super fun. And for you viewers out there, just remember, keep killing it out there, my friends. Just don't get caught.